What's up, YouTube? So before we get started with this video, on First Take, they're going to be talking about how Kevin Durant sacrificed himself for his team and for his fans, and how he might not be the same again after his injury. So let's see what they have to say about that.
KD has a player option at $31.5 million. He can opt in and take that money next season for just sitting on the sideline, fully recover, and still be in a position to get a max deal for 4 years, whether he stays at Golden State or goes somewhere else thereafter. So KD ain't losing any money in all of this. That's number two. Number three, it's a Warriors kind of game, and I don't mean no pun intended about the Warriors. When Jalen Rose competed, there was a point in time where there wasn't a person that could tell you a damn thing about playing because you wanted to play. So let's take this into a situation. And by the way, I'm not saying I know what decision you would have made. I'm saying I would have supported whatever decision you made, and I assume something along the lines of this. Jalen Rose, member of the Fab Five, it's a national championship game. You're about 80%. You playing? Jalen Rose playing for the Indiana Pacers. You in the finals against Kobe and the Lakers and the crew. You ain't playing at 80%. Chances are the Jalen Rose that I know would have probably played.
So I think he would have played too. And there is something about a player that is gritty, and he will fight and play through pain to sacrifice himself for his team and for his fans and for the W. And that's why these guys make millions of dollars, because they're willing to sacrifice. And they've made that sacrifice pretty much the whole life, from Pop Warner to high school to college to being in the pros. They've sacrificed their body so they can get to the top and play at the highest level, and they're well compensated. Now, of course, you don't want to get hurt, you don't want to be injured, but you kind of you at some point you gotta have to play through the pain. There's going to be expectations that you play through the pain, and generally you don't really have to push a guy too much, because when you get to the highest levels, those guys are so competitive that if they can play, they're probably going to play. And a lot of times the teams have to save a player from themselves because they'll play through an injury when they probably shouldn't, and they can get more hurt than if they didn't play. So there is something to be said about a player that plays through pain and gets through it, and that is kind of, I guess, an unwritten expectations that you're gritty, you're strong, and you will play through pain. And like I said, these guys are well compensated for that. So let's keep going.
All I'm saying is that when we take that into consideration, what's wrong with that? When we talk about the media or anybody else that you're alluding to having their pound of flesh, what's the pound of flesh that we're talking about? Are we talking about great players being less than 100%, but going out there and still proving their greatness? I would say there's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting that, with anticipating that, with hoping for that. And if you're Kevin Durant, you know that because before you were a player, you were a fan. And you know what fans would want to see. And part of your greatness is your ability and willingness to give fans what they want to see. When we look at LeBron, when we look at Kobe, when we looked at MJ, when we looked at all the great players throughout NBA history or any kind of sports, it doesn't matter what sport it is, one of the greatest components that they have attached to themselves is that they understand they're the headline, they understand their greatness, they understand what they perceive to be the responsibility that comes along with it, and they embrace it. That's what separates them from everybody else. So when I look at it from that perspective, and I'm thinking about a Kevin Durant at 70%, at 75%, at 80%, still better than 90% of the league in that position, with a championship on the line and his money not really in a position to be compromised. I don't have a problem with it as long as it's him. Now, if he says I can't go, and they said, no, you gotta go, that's an entirely different argument like Max made. But if he said, yo, I'm good enough to make a difference, I want to do this, that's why I said, hell with that, I'm playing them. And I stand by that today.
So I understand what Stephen A. Smith is saying. Now, I do agree that if Kevin Durant wanted to play, then I'd have no problem with that if he's cleared by the doctors. So it has to be a couple of things in play. Kevin Durant has to want to be able to play. He has to feel confident enough that he's healed up enough that he can play. And the doctors have to give him the clearance, say, you know what, you've been healed, you've rested and you healed up enough, have enough physical therapy that you are cleared to play by us. But ultimately, it's going to be your decision. So I think if everybody's cleared and Kevin Durant wants to play, I think he should be able to play and do what he wants to do. And as far as, not playing because he can, get hurt even more and ruin his career, you don't think that his agent's talking to him about that? Because his agent gets a cut of new contracts too. So you don't think his agent's probably saying, you know what, maybe we should just sit this out because you can get hurt and ruin other contracts. You may not be able to play in the future. You don't think Kevin Durant's mom and his family are saying, look, you don't jeopardize the rest of your future just because you want to play in these finals. You don't think there's other people saying that to Kevin Durant? Because there probably are. So I think Kevin Durant probably felt well enough that he can probably play. And, the team doctors are going to be team doctors. If they cleared him, I would say, okay, that's fine, and then have him play. But if he doesn't want to play, then I definitely wouldn't do it. And to compare him to Kawhi Leonard, I think there might be two different scenarios, but we'll get into that later on in the video. So let's keep going.
Even in the aftermath of his injury.
So Jalen has time to say what he wants to say. Jalen, about your point about the media narrative, when we have our pound of flesh, Kawhi didn't care about the narrative. He doesn't care. So the issue to me is not the media created a narrative where Golden State put pressure on KD. It's that KD bought in. He fell for it. And Kawhi didn't fall for the okie doke. Kawhi took care of himself and as a result was in a better position to take care of whatever team he was playing on.
So, Max, I wouldn't necessarily say that Kawhi didn't buy into it or Kevin Durant played into the system and, they told him to play and he did it, even though it might not be the best thing for him. Because Kawhi and Kevin Durant, they're playing on two different teams. There's too many different variables in each person, in each way they were hurt. So Kevin Durant was playing. He's talking about coming back for a championship in the finals, working on a three-peat. So, and his trainers and his coaches are probably saying a little bit different things to him than what Kawhi Leonard would be hearing in San Antonio with the Spurs at the beginning of the season when you're not really playing for anything. And you don't know what type of medical staff or what their attitudes are for each team. So the Golden State Warriors medical staff and training team might be cool. It might be say, look, if you don't feel like you can play, then don't play. But if you feel like you can, you are cleared and we'll support you with whatever you want to do, then you can do it. Well, on the other hand, the Spurs may have been pushing Kawhi, but look, you've had long enough to heal. You should be out there playing. What is it? You don't want to play? Or is there something wrong? You don't want to go hard? So you don't know what the variables were for each of these guys' situations. So to say that Kawhi didn't buy into it, well, you don't know who was pushing him, who wasn't pushing him, who was talking trash about him, or what the scenario was behind closed doors. He may have been legitimately hurt. They may have been pushing him. We don't know what the situation is. Just like with Kevin Durant. I wouldn't say that Kevin Durant just played into it and, they told him to play and he did it even though he wasn't fine. So I think there's apples and oranges with Kawhi's situation and Kevin Durant's situation. And Kevin Durant's playing for a heck of a lot more than what Kawhi was playing for when he was with the Spurs and hurt. So let's keep going.
KD
I'm saying later in the show, Max.
KD listened to others rather than himself,
and including the Golden State Warriors. And Stephen A., to your point, fully recover, or 70 to 80%, and then he still has time to fully recover. The only player in history who's ever come back in the NBA, fully recovered, so to speak, mostly recovered from an Achilles and still played at an all-star level, is Dominique Wilkins. That's one example out of many. So actually what KD was risking also to me wasn't the money. It was the rest of his career, the rest of his prime. He may never be the same.
So he might not be the same, but again, we don't know the whole situation. Now, you guys might know, but did Kevin Durant fully tear his ACL, or are there like little microscopic tears in his ACL? So I don't know what the situation is. So if his leg was completely messed up before and he has a full-on tear of Achilles, then that's going to be a different type of situation that would have to be assessed, and maybe he shouldn't have been playing. But if they didn't know about it, or it was, so small little tears that he could still play, then I can see, okay, well, it was kind of his decision. He wanted to do it, and it would be worth it to three-peat, get a championship, your third championship ring in a row, and that'll be worth it, even though it could mess up the rest of your career. Versus Kawhi Leonard still playing and not playing for anything because it would just be the beginning of the season. So I think there's apples and oranges going on here, and the two guys and what they were playing for. But let's keep going.
When we talk about whether it's his call or not versus the Golden State Warriors call and then caving to public consumption, there's a word for that. It's called bullying. And what ends up happening is when people see you making a lot of money, they equate that with you not being a normal human being anymore. We just want to be entertained. That's what ends up happening.
I agree with that.
And you just gave two different distinctions that make my point. Kawhi had the strength not to cave into public pressure, and he dealt with it the entire season. There were people assassinating Kawhi's character last year for only playing 9 games. For the Spurs,
killing them.
Okay, a story organization from top to bottom, and they deserve that. When you decide that you don't want to be there and you don't want to listen to their doctors and you don't want to play with them, his character got assassinated all season. Now for KD, you fast forward this situation. If the Warriors were up 3-1, he would not have come back. Say the Warriors were up 3-1 and he didn't come back and they would have won it. What will people say if they won it without KD? See, the Golden State Warriors are better without you. Where did I see that narrative happen? Oh, when they was playing against Portland. The offense is better without KD. The team is better without KD. And we know he heard it because he was in the mentions. So we know that he heard it, and subconsciously he was like, we're down.
Listening to that foolishness.
Correct.
He cares about the foolishness that would say a team is better off without him.
Correct.
Foolishness.
Correct. And you're right. Just because you're an athlete and you're going to play when you're hurt, that don't mean that we're smart. That's dumb. Have you ever seen Kevin McHale walk? Okay, I remember watching him in the 80s playing with a foot injury, and people felt like, oh, he's toughing it out for the Celtics. He's a championship level player. Well, he gave a part of himself to the game, and that's what we are willing to do. I was playing for the Raptors at Golden State. Broke my hand, swatting at Cliff Robinson. He had the ball on the left post. I went back to the huddle and told the entire team, my hand is broken. The trainer looked at me and said, what you want to do? I said, I wanted to finish the game. I did finish the game. I even made a couple of shots late in the game. I flew back to Phoenix. I still got a plate and 5 screws in my hand right now. Okay, do I regret it? No. But did I wake up this morning and my hand was sore because it was cold outside? Yeah. And
So I don't mean to cut off Jalen, but to say that it's stupid playing hurt, it might be, but at the same time, you're there to do something, especially if you're knocking on a three-peat and you're in the finals and you're right there, that might be the time to maybe sacrifice your body because that's something special and you'll live with it. Like I said, these guys are super competitive, so they'll put themselves out there. And another example of a guy that's put himself before or puts a team and winning before himself is look at Ronnie Lott. Look at Ronnie Lott, the DB for the San Francisco 49ers in the 80s. He had a situation where he broke his finger, and rather get his finger fixed and not be able to play, he just said, just cut it off. He cut off half his finger so he'll be able to play. Now, you want to talk about sacrificing yourself for the team and for the game? That's what Ronnie Lott did. He cut off a piece of his body so he'll be able to play. That's the level of competitiveness that some of these players go through. So to say it's dumb, yeah, but guess what? Ronnie Lott has 4 Super Bowl rings. He has 4 rings. Now, he might look at that like that. That'll not be kind of stupid, but you're sitting there with 4 rings. You were on a dynasty. You're a Hall of Famer. So it might be worth it to them. It might be worth it. To Kawhi, it may not have been worth it because it was just beginning of the season. He wasn't really playing for anything. But like I said, that's the competitiveness of it. Some guys, you're at the very top, you want to get a ring, you will do whatever it takes to get that ring. And if you have to chop off a piece of my finger, a piece of my body so I get that, that's what I'll do. And that's why these guys make millions of dollars, because that's what they're willing to do. What are you willing to sacrifice? So let's keep going.
You want to give all you can when you can. And that's what KD tried to do. Unfortunately, it's not a bone. It's not a ligament. You can't figure if an Achilles is going to pop. If you're 75%...
Is that connected to the calf injury at all? Do you think one had to do with the other?
Absolutely it is.
Starting and stopping. It's not just like a layup or jump shot. You have to start and stop and put tremendous pressure.
So it was because of the calf that the Achilles
Yes, it was a non-contact injury that he could not determine when an Achilles is going to snap. And it happened on him in front of all of us. Now I'm seeing all of these people with these fake crocodile tears, the same ones that act like KD was weak or soft if he didn't play.
So, like I said, everybody at the end of the day, people know that this is a business. And generally, they're going to want you to be out there playing, especially if they're paying you millions of dollars. They're going to want you to be out there playing, especially if you're knocking on a three-peat and another championship. They're going to want you to be out there playing. Now, should you be playing, if you're hurt or it's career ending, you probably don't want to do it. But they're going to give you that extra push because I'm paying you millions of dollars to be here. And if you can do it, and if you can play through pain, I would like it if you were able to play. And the other his other teammates are thinking the same thing. Now, like I said, it's a business. You're paying a lot of money. They want you to be out there to play, but that's part of it. That's part of it. And if you don't think anybody was saying that, or you don't think that, Kevin Durant knows that, or Kawhi Leonard know that this is a business and you're out there, you should be out there playing no matter what. They know it. They know it. So I don't know. Let's keep going.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about fans. Okay. I'm talking about media. I'm talking about people within the league that felt like KD was not giving all to himself to the team.
I
said on Friday that he couldn't go.
All right. I can say